Evening, folks. How we doing? Chris, Connor, and Smock are the only ones chatting. So, how are you all doing? It is 7:03 p.m. Or 11:15, depending on which clock you look at. We are in euros and MX5 mark. And as you can see, I've had the game open for. I'm going to turn off autosave because this will get annoying otherwise. Let's do a few bits and pieces while we wait for people to arrive. So let's turn that off. Let's go into pounds and miles. There we go. That will be better. It's because I've switched across to the setup that I use for streaming rather than playing. And that was still set up for Rayback. So, yeah. If you watched the first video, which quite a lot of you did, you will notice that the money has gone down rather a lot from where we ended. That is because we have purchased rather a lot of kit and some more land. So let's have a quick look at app. I ended up buying one of the gigantic fields. Thank you for the follow. So we've brought field 176. And one of my neighbour's dogs is repeatedly barking. That's really annoying. Which cost £2.3 million. This was a suggestion from a comment on the first video to use this rather than field 180 as our grazing pastures, and then we can support a lot more cows, which I thought was kind of cool. It's full of canola at the moment that's ready to harvest, so that's going to be a really big job. And I've also brought fields 168, 170 and 173. The two smaller fields I will probably use for root crops. 168 might become a grass field. And then we've still got the existing fields down here. We've also brought an awful lot of kit, which I will show off when I do the next video, because that's probably easier, because I want to get on with the job that I have planned for today, which is to turn our grass field into some hay. So I've got over here I've got this, brought this Crammer mainly because it's a not really small but relatively small tractor that has a front 3-point to run the mowers that we've got. Pretty snazzy looking mowers. We won't be conditioning with these obviously, so I'll get going with that in a minute. We've got a nice old Ferguson with a Tedder on the back. Ted the hay. Yes, we've got a lot of tractors. It's going to be quite a big farm. Hey Bill, how are you doing? We've got a 1455 XL that's got the windrower on the back. The 4440 that you saw before has got a Heston baler on the back, and then I brought over the Ford in case we need to move any bales around. I'm not sure whether we'll get everything done today or not, because it's going to be quite a big job. So yeah, we will see. So let's unfold the mower and I guess make sure that the conditioners are off, and then switch them both on. They sound kind of cool. And get the front mower down. And so my plan is I'm going to do the mowing. As soon as I have a headland done, I'm going to get courseplay going on the tedding, because the tedder is obviously going to run slower than it's the smallest bit of kit, and it's going to take the longest amount of time to do. So the sooner we can get that started, the better. I've just realised that you can't actually see So that should be better. No. Yeah. Hopefully that's better. What's the game sound like? I don't know if it's too loud or too quiet or not. Yeah, the Stream Deck software had randomly switched to a different scene. Hopefully it doesn't do that anymore. Well, I turned it up a lot because it seemed like it was very quiet on Thursday. So, and I rewatched a little bit of the replay. They seem to be doing a pretty good job for older mowers. I have no idea how much I'm going to get done in the time I plan to spend doing this tonight. But hey Casa, how are you doing? I should try and watch what I'm doing. Without GPS, I kind of need to pay attention to many things at once. We might need to use GPS just so that I can multitask, which I know is not realistic at all. Realism is not always key, as they say. Let's get rid of the auto drive window. I used auto drive to get a bunch of the stuff over here while I was setting things up. It's not taking too long to get a heading done at least. Yeah, I thought I'd try and take advantage of the hype and excitement of the first video and the insanity of Thursday. We'll see how tonight goes. I'm expecting it won't be quite as busy because there's no Terror Life. But, you know, I guess the other thing is the reason there wasn't a Terror Life stream yesterday is Paul was asleep with a migraine and woke up about an hour after the stream should have started and messaged me to say he wasn't well. So that's why there was no Terror Life stream yesterday, for those that were curious. Come on, you can reverse tractor. Yeah, I've got one game sound is good, one game sound is quiet, so we'll kind of go with the it's okay at the moment because I'd rather it possibly is a bit small, but my intent is that I will duplicate stuff if needed, and some of the other kit is not so small. It's kind of hard to find big old kit, and we've got 7.5 meter mowers. I couldn't find bigger old mowers, so the tether is the smallest thing. I think the tether is anything that I'm really worried about the size of, and the fact that VCA is doing weird things is annoying me. The keep speed thing. And I can never remember how to get rid of that. Mr. Crash Tech, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, it's one of the features of VCA that I am never sure about. Let's go into the controls and see if we can find the button for it. Because that's getting kind of annoying already. VCA. Someone shout when you see it. Keep speed. Delete. Permanent keep speed. Control delete. So let's do. There we go. Cool. That's better. That's much better. And the alternative for mowers was, you know, like a side mower. That's not really any bigger. So, yeah. My plan, as I might have just said, is going to be to have multiples of things. Because I think that's how they did it back in the 80s. Right. And maybe things just took longer. So let's get course play set up. It's going to need a lot of headlands, isn't it? Probably. I'm doing 7 meters. If I do 3 7-meter headlands, that's what, 21 meters. So we can do 5 headlands with this. Yeah, so that works. That works. I'm not unhappy with that. We want to TED. I'm going to TED all the way to hay today. That is not how I would do things normally, probably, but good evening is rocks. Pronunciation is going to be fun. Right, let's get going because we need to keep up with this header. I need to turn down my volume a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so it's going to take course play an hour and 10 minutes to TED the field. It might take me that long to mow it as well, but hey, we'll see how we get on. See how we get on. So the other jobs, I needed to do harvesting as well, and I thought that probably trying to do a big harvest was a bad idea. I think that's better to do as normal content rather than streaming, because that would have involved a lot of course play and auto drive, basically managing course play and auto drive, which I didn't think would have been as much fun. I wanted to actually do some work in the kit that I've spent a lot of time putting together. Should probably say thank you to some of the patrons who were helping me last night with finding mods to include more for some of the fieldwork kit, which you will see in the future, because I was struggling with that. Grasswork kit wasn't so bad. Someone had shared these mowers in Thompson Briscoe's Discord. So, and I had a bunch of tractors that I'd already pre-selected. So yeah, we were in a pretty good position there. That little Massey is flying around. Yeah, grasswork's always a good one to do as well, isn't it? It needs doing. The grass needs to be cut because it needs to start growing again. It'll be interesting. Well, I kind of know how much we're going to get because I've got the mod installed that tells me the yield, but it hasn't been fertilised. So yeah, it's going to be interesting in the future to see how much we get when we actually look after the fields rather than when we are just inheriting them in the condition that they're in. Marnox, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, so once, as I said, field 176, the plan is once it's harvested to not root crops. Root crops are not good for that kind of thing. I am not using a shader. I have done something in OBS to make the stream look different. It's the same thing as I did in the edit of the video. To make it look older. Or to try and make it look older. Yeah, once field 176 is harvested, it's going to be... Seems crazy to me because it's such a big field, but I really like the idea. We're going to plant it with grass because it's going to become a giant expandable pasture. Because maize plus cows eat a lot of grass. So when we've got a big herd of cows through the grazing period, we're going to need a lot of grass for them to graze. Thank you, Monarchs. I think it's kind of cool as well. But yeah, I think that's going to be the biggest grass field. Well, maybe not. Maybe the stupidly big field that we did cover crops on Greenlands. That might have been bigger, but yeah. But in terms of just a permanent grass pasture, I think it's going to be one of the biggest I've ever done. Hello, Foxy the Pirate. Ahoy, even. Joker's considering going for a drink. For those that don't know, Joker is one of the two greyhoundsters here. Yeah, I'll try and save you from the noises, but you might just have to tolerate them sometimes. Because I'm on my own, there's no alien to talk over the gaps tonight. And I've got a thirsty greyhound. I have not tried Manor Lords. The only, I guess colony building type game that I've played seriously is the Beaver one, and that's playing Beaver games seriously sounds kind of weird, because how can you seriously play a game where you're pretending to control a colony of post-apocalyptic beavers? Very little serious about that. Joker's also just decided that he doesn't like my second monitor and wanted to knock that over. So, I don't think he likes it when I do stuff like this. He always gets... Yeah, that was Joker completely destroying everything. So that was the monitor going flying, my mobile phone going flying, which I used to do the Stream Deck software. Yeah. Thanks, Joker. And every time I start doing anything like this, he has to get up or make a noise or start whinging. Where's the Massey at the moment. I just want to make sure it doesn't start doing up-down rows before. I guess it can't be yet because it's still got, should still have plenty of headlands to go. I don't want it to start doing up-down rows before I've finished my 3 headlands. No, I should not consider a dog cam. I have a mute button. I find the noise disgusting. You don't need to listen to it. The noise of the dog drinking is incredibly loud. The microphone is also directional, so it doesn't pick up stuff behind it generally. But I don't really want to test that out to the complete limits of its capability. And then he just whacked everything with his butt, so that doesn't really make that much noise. It's just annoying, incredibly annoying. And I should be wide enough now. I guess I can't show I can show the course by course if I go into here. Yeah, I think so. This should be, I should have done it. Do I do an extra headland? I guess it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt, is it? It's the reality of being in a room with 4 dogs. So it is what it is. They will hopefully all go to sleep now because it's quite warm today. So they're going to be quite sleepy, hopefully. Also means I'm quite sleepy, but hey. Have fun, Castle. Enjoy whatever it is you're going to be doing. Oh, just a bit. Oh, I'll get it later. Come on, change gear. There we go. Yeah, definitely worth doing an extra headland, I think, because give the Massey more room to work, us more room to turn. And I'm not sure it's actually going to take that long to get this field cut, but we're going to have to wait for the Massey to finish heading. We could maybe follow it windrowing. My current plan is that we will make, I have got a bale whacker, but I'm going to do most of the silage in bunkers because we've got 2 huge bunkers, and Farmington Briscoe included rather nice silage clamps on the map. So we may as well make use of them, is kind of my view. We don't want that on. And not Cartech, we don't have a futuristic GPS, although with the DeLorean we could bring back things from the future. Is he awake? Is he awake? Yeah, it's going to be a lot of hay, but I say we're going to need it if we're having a big herd of cows. My plan is to stockpile food this year and into spring, and then we'll get the cows in spring. But yeah, we've got the silage clamps at the moment. I've only got 1 loading wagon. I will probably get a second one. You know, the same sort of thing. We'll double up on kit to speed up the processes. I think probably the same with the tedder, unless I was struggling to find a tedder that felt like it was the right kind of age. and looked good. So, hey, you finish? How you doing? Don't think we'll be demonstrating auto drive today, so you don't have to sit here panicking. And it did manage to successfully drive most of the tractors to the field. So you did something right. I think the most we'll be using it for is maybe to send kit back to the farm as and when we don't need it. What I should have done is paid attention to the angle that course plate is going to be doing with heading on. Hey, Farmer Mondo, welcome to the stream. Go away, VCA. So that looks like 90 degrees. Excellent. That's nice and easy. I think I can do 90 degrees without VCA. We have a compass. I think that's how they used to do it back in the 80s, isn't it? They use the compass in their smartphones. Those giant ones with the giant aerials weren't so smart. It is very weird not having the advantages of modern technology. It's been a while since I've not used something like VCA. Like that. I need to change. Actually, what I'm going to do is go in to, if I do, I can do that on here. Yep, we can do that on here because this is a separate and save. Yes, and that should stop it constantly turning on as I'm doing things. It feels like the controls keys kind of stuck down. That should stop that activating all the time. I need the DeLorean with a trailer on the back, and I can just bring back everything. But when I suggested bringing back a John Deere 8RT, that didn't seem to be particularly successful. Thank you for the follow, Jimmy boy. Well, it didn't seem to be successfully popular when I wanted a ploughing tractor with lots of power. And it's like, I can just use the DeLorean. It's fine. It's the same as, I guess, deflation didn't occur. Well, yeah. And the £9 million we brought from the future was still worth £9 million because time travel. Come on, change gear. There we go. Yeah. We've gone from whatever year Saxthorpe was in back to the 80s. Like, I've even got my 80s shades on. I told you, Smog, time travel negates inflation. It's in the handbook that's in the DeLorean. As long as you carry it as cash in the car, it's fine. Let's not mention that the currency, the notes changed completely between the 1980s and the 2022s, whatever it would be, 2020s, and they wouldn't actually recognise them as money. But that's fine. It's fine. We're using a special level of realism for this. Because it is key. Although I don't have my key yet because it's not FS25. And as we were talking about on Thursday, I won't use my key even when I get it, and there almost goes the monitor flying again because Joker has to move again. Well, you know, I am an engineer and used to be counted as a scientist, so I would know about time travel. We do everything. There are times when time travel would be very useful. There is a cutscene from the trailer. Here we go, another drink. There we go. Yeah, as I was saying, there was a cutscene from the trailer where I sold everything on Sackstock. And then did a bit of a, I'm not supposed to go above 88 miles an hour apparently, bit in the car. But I really didn't think it fit very well with the rest of it, so I didn't include it. I might throw it in at the end of the video at some point. Like a bonus feature. Because what happens without GPS, you get missed bits. There we go. Yeah, it's not taking too long at all. I said it is like a 7.5 metre mower, I think. But Massey seems to be driving in circles, re-tedding the grass. It's Ted, obviously, just having a good time on that old tractor. And it clearly is a good job I did that bonus headland, because otherwise we wouldn't have gone far enough. It's not bad, is it? Considering that I really don't generally like noise. It's not bad. Not bad. I think it's kind of nicer than the noise of the normal mowers. And on the plus side, because it's an actual grass field, we're actually getting grass. I think the bits that run up the driveway in the farm, we're going to need to plough before we can use those and get real grass planted in them. You know. But I think they're decorative grass, which isn't going to drop anything. That's okay. I'm re-evaluating whether I want to have sheep in those or whether I want to use them as more cow grazing. Do you think we should do some sheep on seeing as there's people here. Oh, I know what I could do actually. Game sound is going to vanish for a moment. Let's do that. Let's do where is there? Let's do this. Let's do. We have sheep. Yes. Bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves, folks. Nothing like a professional. I know. Duration. Go. Right. 5 minutes. Bang. Close. I don't know if that worked or not. If it has, there's a poll running there that you can answer as to whether we should get sheep as well as cows. Fuck me, I'm like some sort of professional. Not a professional at this, but I'm some sort of professional. Click the button then, Mr. Smock Farmer. And we'll see what the results say. Democracy in action. Now, I'm not normally one for democracy, but you know. I guess I need to be careful because if not, you might all go on strike. It is the 80s after all. Was it the 80s when it was? No, because I don't remember them. I was going to say, was it the 80s when the UK had like the problems with power cuts and stuff because of strikes? But I think that was earlier because see, I don't particularly remember it. So the one that we did have that I remember. I don't know how much of the UK. There was quite a bit actually, wasn't it? Because it was the whole big thing on the national news that the hurricane. That was the one. Yeah, the mining strikes. The hurricane was the one in the 80s. It was great. I got a week off school because there was no power. And it wasn't like now where you get a week off school and you get. Well, I guess they couldn't if there was no power. So, but you get a week off school and you get remote working. Just had a week off school. Now there was no power, so there was no things like TV or anything. But you know, it was kind of cool. Yep, that's the one. That's the one. Destroyed a whole load of trees where I lived. Across from my parents' house, there used to be like a little park area that was full of big old trees, and now it's just grass. Very funny, Mr. Carter. Probably £5 more damage than it did to the north. It's quite. It destroyed a lot of very old trees, which is kind of sad. Old trees are nice. And they've just left it as grass, which is kind of boring. Unfortunately, damaged the school that I used to go to. It was very sad. Very, very sad waking up to see. I weirdly, the school that I went to was next door to my parents' house, and so it's kind of like woke up and saw the school damage, and it's like, oh, it's such a shame. I think we're going to be able to jump in the windrower very soon. Which is exactly the same windrower as Karthik used, because I have no imagination and I just copied him. Thank you for the follow, Dazzlebush. I don't think many trees, well, I guess a lot of trees did survive that, but I know where I lived, most trees didn't survive that at all. Certainly not ones that weren't like surrounded by other trees in woods and stuff, but even a lot of those were damaged. It was very bad. No, there were a lot of good things in the 80s. There were salt and shake crisps, there were marathon bars, none of this Snickers rubbish. So the answer is yes. Wow. 3 people out of 18 that were viewing at the time voted. We should get Cheeps. So we'll use those 2 pastures at the front for Cheeps. Stick with the original plan. How long's the Massive got left? 39 minutes. He's getting through his work. Now, I guess the next question, and it's actually more of a decision for me, is whether I stick the windrower on Courseplay and I run the baler. Look at you showing off with your custom remote there, Kartek. I don't know. I didn't even realise I'd done that. Yeah, it will be good to get some wool as well. We could maybe even try and get a fabric production. Whether I run the baler on Courseplay, not the baler, run the windrower on Courseplay so I can start baling, or whether we do those 2 jobs separately. It's not AI, it's a human. It's just a human that's actually more intelligent than a base game worker. I'm not playing without Courseplay. That would make this far too complicated. Now, Mark, I suspect there were a lot of villages in, so, like I can think where I grew up in Essex, there must have been a lot of little villages and stuff that were cut off like that. Because they have like 1 or 2 roads that go in and out. And a lot of trees along those roads. It's the same way that to deal with the stones in the that we've got in one of the fields, because no one likes playing with stones. I'm going to pay the local kids in curly whirlies and salt and shake to pick them all up, so that we don't have stones anymore. I'm not even sure if they might be working for free, because maybe they're on work experience. They've come from the local agricultural college on work experience. That could be it. They are, yeah. I'm kind of surprised how far through the field the Massey has got with that 4-metre tether. So my plan normally is, I think I'm going to set this on 4-day months rather than 3-day months when we get to the end of August. And I've got time on 0.5 at the moment because this is just sort of a bonus thing. Because what I will probably do with a job like this is cut the grass and maybe ted it to semi-dry and then leave it and come back to it like a day later or something. Partly to spread the work out so that it's not like just doing everything in one go. Partly just to, because I prefer doing it that way. I still miss real seasons where you'd have to do that to make hay. And you'd have to worry about the weather forecast and all that kind of thing. And giants haven't mentioned, but I assume, and that's always dangerous, that seasonal changes, as they call them, are staying in FS25. I think it's the yellow Sony one that they're using, as they listen to purely synth pop and disco, because that seems to be what Epidemic Sounds suggests as 80s music. That's what's doing it. Right. Let me just fix that. Now I know I won't use that button. Right. So this can go back to the farm. If we send it back to there, that should work. I didn't have the yellow Sony Walkman, but I did have a Walkman. Not sure about her working on a farm in the 80s. Was that allowed? This one's got some interesting engine sounds. They've made decent progress. What's the working width of this? 6.5. If I did 3 headlands, that should be okay, actually. So, assuming that it ends up with a course going the same way, which it has. There we go. And we will attempt to use this baler, which I have never used before. Okay. Unfold. Do we need to do anything to the accumulator? Okay. We'll do big bales because we're going to be getting through a lot when we're using it. It's turned on. let's see how we get on. I don't think I've ever used a Heston baler before. So. Because they cost way too much for me normally. Oh, cool. Crower made it back. There you go, finish. You can relax. The use of auto drive was successful. It's from the modding group that should not be named, unfortunately. But we'll ignore that. Because they have a lot of older stuff. So. You weren't supposed to ask that question. You weren't supposed to ask that question. It looks old. I don't know if it's an 80s baler. It looks old. I caveat everything with it just has to kind of look right to me. So just has to kind of look right. Is what I went for. I did not Google, but I'll take Smok's word for it. It fits the criteria that I was given, that it should be boxy. So I'm hoping that we can fill this third bale before we get to the end, so that we can drop it off on this straight run. That would be very good. It would appear to not be the case. Or the New Holland John Deere rather than the case. Right. Okay. Hopefully I can make it up to the top before we're full again. I suspect not. I think we're going to end up with problems there. So that was not what I meant to do. Turn that off, lift that up. We're going to drop these off up here. That's exactly the criteria, Kartek. That's exactly the criteria. Right. How do we unload this? Anyone? Bueller? Bueller? No. If we get into transport position. Y. Okay. Y seems, yep. And then Y again, I guess. And then Y again. No. Okay. Oh, this is all going horribly wrong. Right. So, why? Why? Ah. Okay. I've got to say that doesn't seem to be particularly helpful. But it's probably me. I was kind of hoping that it would drop them neatly stacked together. I was kind of hoping it would drop them accumulated as well, so that I could then stack them up as a 3. Rather than as not even a 2 and a 1. But maybe that's an operator error. Maybe the problem was between the keyboard and the chair. Yeah, not enough synth music playing maybe. Maybe the wrong song was playing. Maybe because I switched it to operate to transport position. I'd never used this before. The whole idea of a baler this expensive always put me off. Yep. I would say it's definitely an ID10T error. Now, does their bale accumulator do the same thing? Okay. I wonder if it's because they're not in a line once they're on there. So physics isn't grabbing them at the same point. That would kind of make sense to me. That kind of makes sense. We will try when we get to the end of this short run again, without putting it in to transport position first this time. And hopefully that bale won't get in the way. Alright. Why? No. Okay, you didn't let go of them this time. Why? It is why the second time, isn't it? No. X, I guess X aborts. Why? Look at that. Super slick. And I guess we need to do Y again. This is definitely ID10T problems, or between the keyboard and the chair. Definitely between the keyboard and the chair. With the Heston bales, it could be a bale henge, couldn't it? It could be a bale henge. Massey's having some fun again, doing some power turns, power skids, whatever. Power slides. Something. Doing something. Doing a thing with a thing. So I have... Oh, it's making a mess. Bad Massey. I have never ever done Estons before. So I thought it would be an interesting new experience where I was initially Cartec rich. We will attempt this time to keep moving once we've filled up the bale. I think we're going to have some fun problems over here, so what I'm actually going to do is spin round and drop them right over here. I was actually watching Mr. Clarkson, well, Mr. Clarkson, Mr. Hammond and Mr. May a little while ago. Oh, that's better. Hey, Eagles, it works much better if you keep moving. That I can stack. Only took me 3 attempts. What's interesting is apparently I've made 8 bales but dropped 9 off of the back of the baler. Maths. Well, not really maths. Counting. Counting is hard. I can get rid of that now because I think I've mastered this now. Famous last words and all that. Don't crash into the bales. I'm not going to say the thing I was about to say because otherwise I'm about to curse the job that's not going awfully badly. Yeah, I watched the end of Carnage et Toi, the Grand Tour during COVID, and then I started watching the Sandstorm one, the one where they were in Africa, and I ran out of time because this had to happen. Well, it didn't have to happen. I wanted it to happen, so, which is different. There's a difference between wanting to and having to. And to be honest, it was not even 50-50 as to whether it was going to happen because I had a stinking headache all afternoon. But some meds and some caffeine has helped clear it up, so yeah. Extra caffeine seems to help a little bit, which it does sometimes, because it does things with dilating blood vessels, which is what a lot of the meds I take do as well. So, that's why I sometimes use caffeine to help as well. You're going to push that out? Come on, you can push that out. That sounds so wrong, doesn't it? Right, we're going to unload this. Please unload that bale. Oh, you're going to be annoying, aren't you? Anyway, let's go fix. Oh, you're sorting yourself out. You're not blocked. Let's park you. No, well, it was cold. It was cold. It was cold and it had caffeine in it. So you can probably guess what it was. It begins with an M and ends in an monster. Because that's a much more concentrated form and doesn't require effort. So let's try again with the whole dropping bales. you want to... Oh, it's Y, isn't it? That's why. Y is why it's not working. There we go. Look at that. I think now I've done it twice. I count it as clearly a professional bale accumulator operator. Let's let the Massey go past. Wow, that tractor looks tiny. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? That, you know, and as I say, the 4440 is not huge. It's not a small tractor, is it? But if you think that at one point all farming was done with tractors like that, and now we've got things like quad tracks, or the really big Massey that we have on the farm, which I don't think I've shown yet in all of my tabbing, because I think I parked that. Guessing you're going to come a long way back here, or are you going to turn around? We're turning, okay, that's cool. In that case, we'll keep going. And this should now get easier because the up-down row should make it easier to unload. But yeah, I think probably the next few videos are going to be getting all of the harvesting done, because there is a lot of harvesting. And I want to get certainly that big grass field replanted, well, the one that's going to become a big grass field. I want to get that replanted as soon as possible, because then we might actually get a Mahusive silage cut off it, which would be cool. Because then we could think about getting cows through the winter, and they could start growing. Or at least we could get some, and they could start growing, which would be beneficial. Just in case, if we plant it in August, September, October, concentrate on driving, we might get a second stage cut off it at least. With how big that field is, that would still be a lot of grass. I guess the other things we can do, I was going to say thing we could do, but because I'm not playing with precision farming, grassland rollers become a thing. I'm not sure I'd fancy doing grassland rolling with the relatively small grassland rollers on how big the grass fields are, but you know. We're probably going to end up with quite a lot of manure and slurry, so that probably doesn't matter. Time. No, plenty of time left. Mr. Haythornthwaite, good evening, sir. I had a question for you actually, but I'm not sure whether it's better to ask you in a message on Discord or not. I have a modern question for you. I might send it to you as a message, because it might be another little mod you could knock up. It's possible. That's a little bit embarrassing. That is technically possible on this map, apparently. Someone was complaining that there is a spot on one of the fields that you can drive off the edge of the map. Thank you for the follow. Endless fields. We'll don't drive through. Don't See you later, Farmando. Don't drive off the map. But clearly, Mark's just demonstrated that that is entirely an option. So, you know. I may have done that once or twice on Sandy Bay. Because I used to farm... why do I keep... Oh, it's because I've not got that selected. There we go. On Sandy Bay, if you weren't watching back then, I used to farm the free areas on Sandy Bay, which go right up to the edge of the map, and you can fall off of there. You can also fall off of the giant cliffs if you're not paying attention. It was such a good map. It was such a good map. I think something that I might do with 22 that I didn't do for 19 is archive all of my saves when the game finishes. Because I would quite like to have gone back to Sandy Bay, but I don't have the save anymore. And to be fair, if you fall off the map, you end up in nowhere. You end up in infinity. If you fall off the cliffs, you end up in the water and you end up having to reset your vehicle. Or you end up in the caravan park, depending on which bit you fall off. And then you have to buy a new tractor, because, yeah. If you've watched the film Snatch, you'll understand. Other thing I had for a similar reason, because I used to farm the bits of the map you're not supposed to farm, and the bits of that on the very top of the map had Oxy's artificial traffic. Yes, Kartek. Have you heard of the internet? If you really need that, you can type it into a search engine. But yeah, it had, and I got very confused the first time I encountered it, because I didn't realise that the traffic that goes around pretending to mow up there also has collisions. And so when you're mowing up there and leaving bales behind, it can move your bales for you. And it can also knock them off the map, which it did on several occasions. So I ended up at the end of that save with a bunch of silage bales buried under the map. Yeah, I'll DM you the idea, Mark. Because I'm not sure I would enjoy playing FS19 too much now. I don't know. I don't have time to do another series. Maybe at the end, if I've got spare time, I might go back, because it would be fun. It would be fun. I tried playing FS19 when FS22 had released, and I found it really difficult. But maybe a little bit at the end, when if FS22 is finishing and I have spare time, that might be fun. A bit of real seasons. Come on. now I've worked out how to use the bale accumulator, I quite like it because it's just going to be a little bit of a nudge and we'll be easily able to make stacks of 3. It would be interesting to revisit it, particularly for real seasons and yeah, it would be fun. It would be fun. Because it was the second ever map that I played as a series. Oh, come on. You know, that's back. There we go. Yeah, I need to remember to change some keyboard shortcuts in OBS to stop the that scene change happening when I use the macro keyboard. Because the key that is mapped to do power for the rear implement is also the key to switch to that be right back scene, which is why it's randomly switched a couple of times. Yeah, and I assume, so I've seen that Mr. CDP is playing FS17. I assume he's working his way through. Is he doing FS17, FS19, something like that? I know that's quite a popular thing to do. Uh, 14 minutes left on the window. I think we're going to stop when the baling's finished because me and the dogs are getting quite warm, so should be about another 20 minutes hopefully. It's been really warm today. Yeah, I used that on Sandy Bay. Doesn't the quad, because it was base game in 19, wasn't it? If it's the one I'm thinking of, which is not in 22. Is that right? No, that's what I used. I used the 4 stack. I used the 4 stack in 22. In 19 on Sandy Bay, and that was quite cool because that gave you the really nice stacks of 3, which was really good for then loading stuff up. It's Black Sheep's the one where the vertical accumulator goes on the back behind the baler. That one, if that's the one I'm thinking of, that one's quite good fun because it uses auto load to load up, and so it just grabs them from anywhere. That one's quite good fun because of the way it works. I think I used that on FS19 on Oak Tree Farm, the Lancey Boy map. Oak Tree, Oak Hill, the one that's got oak in it. That's not the Oxy map. You're not blocked. Get on with it. Come on, hurry up. I'm catching you up. Chop, chop. So when we finish this row, we'll get the Massey sorted out while we wait for the windrower to do a bit more work. How many bales have we made so far? 25. Oh. Stacking them's going to be fun. And I need to find somewhere to stack them because I've built up quite a lot of the yard. Right. I've also got a low loader so that if we need to move some of this stuff around a bit further than just local to the farm, we don't have to do it at 40 miles an hour. Because these old tractors are quite slow. Actually, we'll do this one to... let's go... cow barn slow. That'll work. Off you go. Back to baling. It is nice because I'm always really bad for finding auto drive networks, and on Saxthorpe I think I did put together my own for Saxthorpe. I think it's really nice having a complete auto drive network and just being able to send stuff wherever I need to send it. I think I've got a couple of edits I need to make because I've added in a workshop trigger and a fuel tank, so to add those in so that I can send vehicles to those if I need to. It's not exactly like that's going to be a major hassle. Into the bales. Brilliant. Yeah. Quite like this setup, considering that this is a pretty big grass field. So I think the game was suggesting that we were going to get about 240,000 litres of grass off of here. It's only taken, what are we at so far? An hour and a half? To mow, ted, windrow and bale. That's really not that bad. Considering the scale of some of the kit, it's really not that bad. Need to get some fuel in the John Deere soon. I suspect we're going to need to be making use of, I can see us putting a lot of hours on stuff, so major service might come in handy in a game year or two's time. Because I think probably normally I'll have more than one job on the go at once, or when we need to. So I could have, well, I couldn't because I need to bale the straw on the field that we combined. But I'll probably have, like when we're doing a job like this, I might have Courseplay running some field work, that kind of thing. Because we own, come on, let me get the map up. It feels to me like we own quite a bit of land. No, I mean, it's a huge map, but there's going to be quite a lot of work to do. And particularly once we've got, I mean, with the plan to do a lot of grazing of animals. That should make the animal work a lot less through the summer, which is good. But in the winter, there's going to be a lot of feeding of animals. That will just be a case of feed, skip time, probably. Yeah. I do like the older kit as well. I think a lot of it looks quite cool. And we're pretty spoiled for older tractors, just not so much for older implements and things. Well, I've managed to find pretty much everything that I needed. Drop another lot of bales off the back. There we go, and then we'll do. I'm too far ahead again. This is the only windrow, which is a bit annoying. I mean, I'm going to have to wait again. Guess that's the disadvantage of having some kit which is smaller. Although not too long a wait because they're right there. Come on. All waiting for you. I watched partly yesterday, partly today, Avengers Endgame for the first time in a while. Really enjoyed watching it again. It was good. Obviously, kind of knew the story, having seen it several times. It's one of the few films that I went to the cinema to watch in recent times. And I say recent times, it's probably ages ago now that it came out in the cinema. And it's in fact one of the only films that I've been to see in the cinema twice. Because I went to see it with Mrs. D, and then the teenager wanted to see it as well, so we went to see it with her. But yeah, it's a brilliant film. One of the good things about having Disney Plus is they have all of the Marvel stuff on there. And I'm always surprised by the stuff Disney Plus has, because I don't know why, but when we originally, I can't remember why we originally got Disney Plus. I remember what specific thing it was we wanted to watch. But I'm always surprised by the amount of non-Disney stuff they have. I think it was when I discovered all the Predator films, which I love, that I was really shocked. So yeah, when I was younger, probably not quite in the 80s, I got really into reading. There's a series of science fiction novels about Predator and Alien versus Predator and stuff. Not the graphic novels, the actual written novels. I think they might be based on graphic novels. I got really into reading those, and so yeah. Also really liked the films, and I was quite surprised when I saw they were on Disney Plus. That would make sense. But it just doesn't seem very Disney. that it's full of all these horror and sci-fi films. But it's cool. It's cool. I quite often, if I want to watch a film, I quite often go to Disney these days because they have a very good selection, and I think they quite often, personally, I think they have a better selection than like Netflix has. So, and I've yet to find a series to watch to replace binge watching Dexter. So. Having finished watching the last 3 series and then New Blood, I've not found a new series to start watching yet. I've been kind of randomly watching films and bits on YouTube and stuff. I have seen they're doing a prequel to Dexter. I was chatting to Smock about it last week, I think. I think it was last week. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it or not. I think I will either absolutely love it or I will absolutely hate it. So I don't know if I want to watch it or not. It's yeah. It's like I find it really hard sometimes to watch adaptations of books that I love because if they change the story, I can't watch it. I can't remember. It's either Amazon or Netflix have done an adaptation of a book that I love. I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. But they quite significantly changed the main character to the point where I haven't watched it at all. Because the main character is so different, it cannot be the same story. So yeah, I'm not going to watch it. Now that might be because of my neuro brain. But I get really frustrated when they call something the name of a book that I've read and loved, but it very clearly isn't that story. Like, use a different name. I cannot remember. And I don't want to. I've got a couple of names in my head, and I don't want to say the wrong one. So I'll have to have a look. And it's a bit like the new Roadhouse movie, which I haven't watched because it's not about the same thing the first Roadhouse movie was about. And it's got Conor McGregor in it, and I think he's a bit of a twat, so, you know. But yeah, it's I loved the first Roadhouse movie, and I will not watch the second one because it's not a sequel. So again, don't use the name. Call it something different. yeah, instead, when the second one came out, instead I just sat and watched the first one again, which was really good, you know. It was as good today as it was when I watched it many, many times on cassette. Not cassette, on VHS, sorry. Can I be bothered to try and get 2,000, 3,000 litres worth of scraps? There probably is 3,000 litres worth of scraps. There probably isn't 3,000 litres worth of scraps, and to be honest, I can't be bothered to look for them. So we're going to turn the baler off. Unload you there. Wow, that flew off the back. And I think that's going to be it for this evening, folks. So it's been fun. Thank you to those of you that have been here and chatting. It's obviously much better if I'm not completely talking to myself. Looks like we are getting some sheep, so that's cool. And there'll be another one of these in video form during the week. There won't be one of these in stream form next weekend because I'm taking the teenager back to uni, but would like to kind of try and get back to doing this somewhat regularly. So yeah, and that's the plan for this series. Is going to be a mixture of streamed and video. So yeah, I'll probably be chatting to some of you in Discord at some point later. So anyway, I will see you all again sometime very soon. And if I can find the right button to press, that's it for tonight.